All right, what's going on today, chat? Long time no speak. Let's see if we can select the right scene this time. What up, chat? How's it going? What up, what up? Hopefully you guys are having a good Wednesday. My room is absolutely cluttered. I got, one of my friends was cleaning out their, like, childhood home, like up in their attic or whatever. And look at these, chat. I haven't really looked at them quite yet, but just these. So we got some, looks like some like XY tins. Pretty cool. Got some there. And then we got some of these. So that's pretty dope. A lot of it's pretty beat, but it's always cool to have a homie hook you up every now and again. We got the big dogs, right? We got the Neopets. This is gonna be a Neopets only stream, chat. That's all you're gonna know me for is straight up Neopets. So that was in there. And then what else is in there? Just a lot of random top stuff. So we had, let me see if I can do this without hitting you guys. So we had some flexing, the big man Blastoise himself. See if I can even get to him. Okay, is it this one? Yeah, big man Blastoise himself, chat. So that's gonna be interesting to go through, to say the least. But hey, we survived yet another week in Pokemon Land, chat. We finally did it. We're able to come out the other end unscathed. And speaking of, we're gonna see if we can come out unscathed in some Pokédol. We meaning me, have been struggling with the classics, so. The Topps card, I just love like when that era was just printing Pokemon like it was crazy, just over and over and over again, like the Burger King stuff. I loved it. I loved all that. This is definitely a haunter. Wow, we couldn't be more. Wow, we got red on all of them. We couldn't be more wrong if we tried. That's crazy. Not a type 2, so it's a type 1. Let's go with the Pidge. So not a ghost, normal, flying, poison. Let's go with Seal. Man, we are starting off strong. So shorter than a meter, but taller than 30 centimeters. But it is a stage 1. And I am silly because seals don't belong in the forest. I kind of forgot about this big green box that says forest. Yikes. So maybe a Caterpie? So not green. Not yellow, so it's not a Weedle. But it is in the forest. Oddish, maybe? So it is grass. So grass that is in the forest, that is not a second, so it's not a Bellsprout, but it is grass. Grass stage 1 in the forest. From generation 1, chat. This one's gonna get me. I don't know why, man. This one gets me all the time. The other ones I can get pretty quick, but it's always these ones. Grass forest stage 1. All right, we're consulting the board. I'm a cheater. Mrs. Puff. Mrs. Puff. I think I cheated, Mrs. Puff. And you know what, chat? I definitely did cheat. Because you know what? When we have that back there, the wall of cards, you bet your ass I'm looking at that thing. Are you kidding me? You bet your ass I'm looking at that. Oh, there goes my neighbor. ZA starter predictions. I know that's a Mew. Can't fool me. I said Mew. No. I flew too close to the sun, chat. By a stiff shell. Is it a... All right, so it's just one of them. All right. That's a Fearow. I really want them to do Gen 2. I really want them to... So what do we do? So Classic 6. Card, I fat-fingered. It's already starting off rough, chat. We're already starting off rough. Crazy. All right. Well. So how's it going, chat? We doing good on a Wednesday? We chilling? So, for those of you who were here on Monday, I figured I'd kind of do like a quick recap on my thoughts on the online claim sale. So, I think from my perspective, the online claim sale format was a success. I think a lot of people really liked the ability to see cards both in, you know, kind of the standard format as well as the microscope. I think a lot of folks liked the ability, instead of doing like these claim bags and these claim sales and like holding on to stuff. I think a lot of people really liked the fact that you could just go through the website and just, if you want it, you just buy it. You don't have to do all this like wait, like, oh, my PayPal thing didn't go through. I can't log into PayPal. Like, I can't log into Zelle, whatever. None of that. I didn't have to deal with any of that, which was really good for me. When's my next showing? I'll probably do one on Monday. I'll probably do another one on Monday. Sylveon really 450? I think so. I mean, I'm sure these prices have updated since I mean, because the market is just insane that these prices change like every other day and I can't keep up. So, you know what? Let's see. Let's see what the Sylveon VMAX is. Just to kind of show Sylveon VMAX. So Sylveon VMAX is... So it looks like it's dipped down a little bit. So over the last week, it's dipped down. Market 424. Last sold 415. So I'll have to update that. But yeah, it's crazy. These prices are fluctuating. Like I have to keep track like every week. Yeah, it's nuts, man. The prices are crazy. It's hard to keep up. What website is this? Are you talking about the updated price? Or are you talking about... So this one's my website. So all these cards are available to you guys for purchase. So I did the first online claim sale on Monday. And I updated these prices. These were probably prices from like 2 weeks ago, legitimately. And so the prices are just like... It's crazy. You can't keep up. But is anyone from stream has well, I think Mike, I think you're in here. How did you like the claim sale on Monday? I'm gonna do it again on Monday too. I'm gonna go through. But Rian, thank you for the follow, appreciate that. But no, I thought it was a fun format. I thought I got a lot of use out of it. I like that it wasn't me pausing every 5 seconds to wonder if someone's gonna buy a card or not. I like that a lot, actually. I was worried at first you'd show a card and it'd be gone. Yeah, I think still people want to at least look at the card before they kind of like trigger buy. I mean, there's definitely that opportunity, but I think people still want to like look at it before they like commit. And I really liked the idea that you can have the microscope. And I shipped all those out today too. Mike, I know you picked up a few on Monday. I just delivered them to the post. And then my PSA submission was supposed to be in today, but they completely ignored where I wanted their redirect to go because I got to sign for it. Signing for packages, man, like I understand like why people do it and I understand why it's there, but it is so annoying to have to be, oh, you have to direct signature required and you can't use the digital one. They require you to use like for you to physically be there to sign for it. It's like, I don't know. This one is shipped differently. Normally I can do it when it's not through ground, but this one was a big one. This one had like 71 cards and it weighs like 9 pounds or something, so I needed to select a different service or something like that. But anyway, but yeah, all in all, super excited. Gonna be doing another one on Monday most likely. So while we're doing that, zoop. Good thing I didn't have any DMs open. I always love when my stuff gets shifted around. Let's see. So I have a legit Bubble Mew, but it's in Spanish. Would you know where I can find the price? Yeah, that's tough, to be quite honest with you, man. That's pretty tough. I would say, like, if I were in your position, I'd probably, if I had a Spanish Mew, I would probably look at, like, if there's any PSA equivalents. So, like, if there is, like, a PSA 9 or something, or 8 for a Spanish Mew, that's kind of where I would start. Like, it's not, like, going to be 100% accurate, but that's pretty hard to probably find a lot of market price data on, like, as a raw card. So I'd probably start with the looking at the graded stuff first, to be quite honest with you. But all right, chat, it is time. Grade review. Episode 56. Been doing this 56 times, and I'm glad you guys enjoy it, because I wouldn't be doing it if you didn't. So let me shift gears here. So yeah, for those of you who are frequent flyers, you're gonna hear the speech. Those of you who are new, this is grade review. And in a nutshell, what grade review is myself and chat will review your cards for free, and I will give my general assessment on what I think your cards would get as a PSA grade. I've been grading since 2017, and all of the lessons learned and everything that I've kind of learned throughout the years, ultimately it's going to translate into what I'm going to be talking about today. So all my observations and notes that I make about centering or corners or edges or surface wear or anything like that, it's all just from my own experiences. I don't work for PSA or anything like that, so you kind of just have to take my expertise just solely based off of my experiences, so just kind of keep that in mind. But yeah, where do I send? Well, Johnny, it's a good opportunity here. So if you guys are wanting to submit your cards for a future grade review, so the queue for tonight's stream is closed, but you're more than welcome to submit your cards for a future grade review. All you have to do is go into my link in bio to my link tree. From there, you will go here and click the Discord icon. Next, you will be redirected to the Discord, and then you'll find the grade review channel. Once you're in there, I highly recommend that you review the pinned messages, because it gives you all the rules and info on how to properly submit your cards for a review. The last thing I want is for you guys to take pictures of your cards in top loaders or sleeves, and I say, well, sorry, I can't review it because I don't know if the scratch is on the sleeve or the top loader or a combination of the two, stuff like that. It is first come, first serve. since it is a free service, and it is limited to 5 cards per person per stream. So you can submit like 10 or 15, but I will only review 5 during that stream. And then, you know, the next week I'll review the other 5 and so on and so forth. However, this submission by Mike, he is a subscriber of mine. So thank you, Mike, as always, for subscribing. And he will receive a priority grade review. So we first start off with the subscribers, and then we move on with the non-subscribers. So we are going to start off with Mike. So let me make sure I have my tools here, which I do. And we are just going to get right up into it. So Snorlax. So with centering, so a few people always wonder, how do we measure centering for e-readers? So I will kind of give you what I do, and it seems to translate pretty well. So normally what I like to do is, and actually I'm going to do this. I'm going to use this in a snipping tool just to make it a little bit easier for us to focus on. So let's say that we're looking in this section right here. So normally what I do is I will kind of go right from this one corner and just take a line kind of 45 degree from the center corner. And so I then do something along the lines of go kind of up and that way. So for example, I kind of do like almost like a degree here. So in, I guess, as an example, if this measured 45 degrees and this measured 45 degrees, then you can pretty much tell that this is well centered from the top to the right, respectively. So that's kind of how I loosely do it. Because obviously with an e-reader, right, going back to the non-snipped version, you can see that the left is much thicker than the right and the bottom is much thicker than the top. But it's done intentionally, right? Because these cards are meant to be scanned. So that's where I kind of start in this section. So if we look at this card, for example, it is a little bit thicker on this right side when kind of compared to the top. So it is going to be a little bit off center, I believe, when we kind of look at this for kind of top down, left, right. That top right is probably going to be a little bit thicker. So I would say, you know, we're probably in that 10 to 9 range to kind of keep that in mind. So for example, if we are going to kind of stick with that and measure the right side. So again, we're really zooming in here. So it's going to be a tad bit more. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, just shy of 10 on that right side. And then if we do a full 90 degrees, which it should be, I believe. Let's see. There we go. So on the top, so we got 5, 6, 7, 8. So 10 to 8. So if we do 10 divided by 18, so it's 55, just shy of 56, 45. So you could kind of squeeze away if they don't round up on you. Dave, thanks for the follow. Appreciate you. And the Thunderbolt, thank you. Trying to get an uncut sheet graded. I don't think I've ever heard of a sheet being graded before. So I don't think a sheet would get graded. But who knows? Maybe it could be the first. So with that, so it's right on the edge of 55-45 from what I can see. Yeah, cut it yourself. I don't know in terms of like authentication. I would say normally with like the uncut sheets, it should have like some authentication marks. So like some people sign off on the sheets, or they have like the ink like testing palette in the corners. But in terms of like who to work with specifically to like give like an official stamp that's authentic, I personally wouldn't know. But there are signs. I would say one resource that I highly recommend, and actually, funny enough, I posted an article through them, is Elite Forums or E4 forums. You might have someone might have like posted like a sheet or something like that, and they might have like ways to kind of show like what to look for when authenticating a sheet, but that'd be my recommendation. The surface of the Snorlax looks good. There's nothing that I can visibly tell. There's no like major creases that are visible within this picture. And you can kind of see, so we were talking about the off center on this right side. Another way that I kind of look to kind of confirm if a card is off center, sometimes it translates to the back, not always, but it sometimes does translate to the back. So for example, on this right side, we're kind of seeing that it's a little bit thicker when compared to the top, because that's really all you can compare it to. So when we flip it over, it should be thicker on the left, and it is by a little bit, but not by much. Looking at the corners to start, so we have one there, 2, 3 there, and possibly 4 in that bottom right corner. But it is a little off center. And we have roughly 1, 2, 3, 4 points of potential whitening. Additionally, we have, which I don't know, it can or cannot be removed. I have a little bit of whitening there. And I think on this side here, I think that's just lighting. There's a tiny dot top right, not visible in photo. Like dot meaning like an impact, or like a dent, or like a dot like what I just circled. So while we wait for that, whitening like the other corner. Okay, so I'd probably say in that case, like if there is more whitening, it's a little bit off center, I'd probably say an 8, because we do have a little bit off centering, possibly, because if they round up, then you're going to be out of that 10 range, because it was like, I mean, again, measure in person, but what I measured, it was like 50, like 555. So you're at like 55, 56 to, you know, 45 to 44. So just kind of keep that in mind on the front. I don't see any surface issues on the front, but if we're seeing like a dot like 1, 2, 3, 4, possibly 5, I'm probably thinking like an 8. Because you can see a little bit of off centering on this, but again, the back is more lenient than the front. But you also have a little bit like what you mentioned as well as here. But Betty, what's going on? Welcome, welcome. At least a 7. Yeah, I mean, like I said, like I am just so like gun shy now with that Dusclops. I'll have to show you guys. Did I show you guys that Dusclops EX that I picked up as a PSA 7 and I cracked it? I am why. Yep. Because when you see what I'm seeing with that 7, whew, that thing has got me like shook. But yeah, I would say for that, like for the minimal whitening, and it looked pretty clean. There wasn't anything wrong with the surface that I could tell on the front and the back. That's why I was kind of leaning more towards an 8. It was just the whitening that was going to kind of hold you back from that near mint, or the mint status. But I don't think it was worse than that. It looked pretty good. Hopefully your nap was good, Betty. Yeah, exactly why. Yeah, once I'm done with this Kabutops, I can tell you how to submit your cards. It's completely free. Right now, I'm actually going through subscribers. They have priority, and I'll explain that in a second. But I can definitely 25 per card. Well, we don't charge nearly enough like that at all. Oh, there you go, Betty. Well, let me put you to sleep with reviewing this Japanese Kabutops. So the first thing that I see that's going to give us is a little bit of a lip there on that top right corner, so we have to kind of keep that in mind. In addition, we have a little bit of some issues on that top left corner as well. Left edge looks good. But yeah, but the non-sub is free. Why? I'll explain the whole thing in a bit. Bottom looks good. Bottom corner looks good. Some silvering on that right side, so that might be indicative of either the cutting process or some dings we'll have to kind of look at. Let's go! What up, Rod? Ribeye himself. Josie, thanks for the follow. Appreciate that. But from this angle, from the lighting, I don't see any major scratches or anything like that. So this one I think will be good, because sometimes folks will ask me how to measure the back of centering. I can't tell you how many cards I ruined with the e-reader. Oh, I hear you, man. Oh, the ribeye? I got you. So Jaden, you can submit as many as you want. You can submit 20, 30, 40. But I will only review up to 5 cards per person per stream. That way it's just not one person that kind of dominates the entire stream. So just keep that in mind. So for centering, this was actually a pretty good one to, because it's kind of hard for me to even explain it, to be quite honest with you. But from at first glance, from what I'm looking at, unless it's a lighting, we're gonna try to measure. I'm trying to highlight like where I'm seeing for centering. So this one's a good kind of contrast here. So right where I am highlighting with my pen tool, if you guys want to take a screenshot of that or what, but right kind of where it stops, like the gradient starts to kind of, and I did a little bit too much on that last one. Let me actually do this. I'm gonna get really cheeky here. So boom. So right about there. And then right about here. So that's where, so with those like green lines, that's kind of where I measure for centering, specifically for Japanese. But that's where, that's kind of like where I kind of look. So the moment it starts to kind of fade out into that blue area, that's where I start measuring. So some other issues on the back. So that little ding on that top left is translated over to that top, or no, never mind. I was thinking of the corner, but there is a little bit there. And then that's what I was talking about, that top left corner, translating over. And so that silvering I was talking about on this side here is in fact kind of translating to the back. So that is more of a ding than anything. Let's see, have a little bit of corner ding there, and the bottom left, bottom right. And then we have a pretty notable ding on that right side. And then aside from that, I'm really just kind of looking at surface. There's really nothing I can tell like that, but again, that doesn't mean that it's not there. But that's all I can see. So let's see. We actually have enough, so you guys have, wow, congratulations. You've unlocked chat grade. Well, chat, if you want to weigh in on what you think this Kabutops Japanese from the e-reader series would get as a PSA grade, now is your chance. Just simply type in !grade followed by the number on what you think this Kabutops would get, whether you're watching me on YouTube or TikTok tonight. And then the winning vote will kind of combine both YouTube and TikTok, and that will be the chat grade. So again, if you want to vote on what you think this Kabutops would get as a PSA grade, here is the front, here is the back with my markings. Just type in !grade followed by the number, and then the winning vote will be the chat grade. So while you guys are voting, just let me know if you want, anyone needs me to flip it over. It doesn't matter, Z. Does not matter. And while you guys are voting, I appreciate anyone who has liked, shared, or followed the live tonight. Really does mean a lot. Again, I like to do this more as an informational bit of content. I do this primarily for free for the community, just to kind of highlight things on what I look for when I personally grade cards. Again, I've been doing it since 2017, so I definitely appreciate all the love and support that you guys give. Volt, I appreciate the likes. Thank you very much. All right, so let us wrap this up. So you guys, let's see. So you guys are thinking a 7. I tend, on average, Jaden, I tend to stream twice a week. Once on Mondays and then once on Wednesdays. Roughly around anywhere from I start from 6:30 to 7:30, depending on when my availability kind of opens up for the day. More for like when I get back from work, or how many dishes I have to do, to be honest. So chat, you guys are thinking, nope, that is not what you guys were thinking. You guys were thinking a 7. So chat, you guys were thinking a 7. So now is my turn. So again, I'll kind of highlight all the things that I'm talking about now that I've documented that you guys are thinking a 7, and I'll kind of do a quick review here. So the first thing I notice on this Kabutops is that corner right there in the top right. So that is a little bit of a fold. So right off the bat, just from starting from there alone, we are kind of already in just starting at like an 8 or lower, just to kind of dictate how much of an impact a corner fold could possibly give a card. Additionally, you have a little bit of issues on that top left as well. Looking at the left side now, nothing that we can really see within the picture. And as we kind of look around in the bottom section, so we're kind of making our way down, looking more towards the bottom, nothing worthy to note quite yet. As we kind of get around, we see a little bit of silvering here on the right side where my mouse is. We're kind of going up, a little bit of silvering there as well as there. So we have probably 3 to 4 bits of silvering. But the good news is on the hollow, there's really not much in terms of scratches or anything like that. So so far, it's really just the corners, the top left and the top right corners that are kind of giving us a little bit of a point deduction. So let's flip it over. And so as we're flipping it over, we're going to start to see a little bit more on these dings. So we're going to see a little bit, not too much on this right side, but it's more on kind of this left side. So as we were seeing on the top right on the front, it kind of translates over to the top left, as you can kind of see a little bit with this kind of highlighted indentation in addition to that top left corner. So as we're kind of going down along the edge, we're starting to see that silvering on the right side translating over to the back on the left, which you can kind of see in this section, and a little bit of whitening on the bottom left as well. So we're looking at the bottom right is looking, if I can move my mouse, looking in this section of the bottom right. Additionally, we do have a pretty notable little bit of a side ding here. But aside from that, it's just kind of the corner and edge dings that's kind of plaguing the card. But aside from that, the surface is actually in really good shape from what I can tell from the picture. So the hollow is in really good shape. I don't see a lot of scratches, nor do I see any scratches on the front or the back. It's really just kind of these corner dings. So again, kind of how I've always kind of translated in my head for those of you who are new here. I translate near mint as a PSA 7, light play as a PSA 6, mod play PSA 5, so on and so forth. So when I kind of use those terms interchangeably, that's kind of what I mean when I do these types of reviews. So for me, the question would be, would I list this as near mint? And I would say no, I wouldn't. But the surface is so clean that I also wouldn't rate it as moderately played either. Meaning like a PSA 5, because it's really just kind of the edge wear. And now if there was more edge wear and or if the surface was much worse, it would make the moderately played call much easier. But judging from, again, the one picture that we have on the front, the hollow is in really good shape, as well as the surface on the back. I would probably lean more towards a 6 than a 5, with kind of the asterisk that if there are more scratches on the surface, then I would probably knock it down to a 5. But that's kind of my general assumption. So I'd probably lean more towards a 6. If there's more scratches, more towards a 5. So how this works, now that you guys have kind of seen the chat, so you guys were thinking so chat was thinking a 7, and then myself, I was thinking a 6 to 5. 5 being if the surface is worse than what we're seeing, but it looks pretty clean to me, so that's kind of what I'm thinking. Just got the bubble Mew back that you received and got a 10. Dude, that's awesome, Dylan. Congratulations. Why Yeezy, thanks for the follow. I appreciate you. That's awesome, man. That's super sick. What did we assess it as? Do you remember? I can't remember if we assessed it as like a 9 or a 10, but that's super dope. Congratulations. And before we go on to the Dark Gyarados, I'm just going to catch up with chat real quick. PokeShacks, thanks for the follow. Picks ready. Could you explain the submission soon? Yes. Why? Yep. So again, if you guys are wondering how to submit your cards for a free grade review, all you have to do is click the link in the bio. From there, you'll go to the link tree. Next, you just have to click or tap the Discord icon. You just have to make sure if you're using on mobile. I've heard that a few people, the link doesn't work. You have to have the Discord app installed for it to properly launch if you're doing it on mobile. But desktop works just as fine. Once you're there, you'll find the grade review channel. And I highly encourage that you guys read the pinned messages on instructions on how to properly submit. Otherwise, if it's in like a top loader or a sleeve, I simply can't review it because I don't know if the scratch is on the hollow or on the card, the sleeve, the top loader, combination of the three. I don't really know. So it's just easier just to take your time, read the instructions, and post. It's pretty straightforward. Like I said before, it is free, but it is first come, first serve with a limited of 5 cards per person per stream. So you can submit 20, 30, 40 cards, doesn't matter. But during each stream, which is every Wednesday, I'll only review 5 at a time. However, if you want to take advantage of priority grade review, like what Mike is doing right now, which we're about to review his Japanese Dark Gyarados, the Discord server does offer a subscription starting at $4.99 a month, in addition to some other perks. We did a sub giveaway not too long ago. We're going to have our next one actually next week, or the start of March, which is crazy. So a lot of other good perks if you want to choose that and to help support me and help support the stream. It's totally voluntary. You don't have to. That's why the free option is there. But so if you subbed today, Sev, so the queue for this stream is closed, but if you subbed and submitted your cards in the subscriber exclusive grade review, then you would have priority for next week. So, but it wouldn't because I already have the queue set up, and it wouldn't bump people out of the queue, if that makes sense. Math, thank you for the follow, appreciate that. And Mike can honestly kind of speak a little bit more on, and Apple. You guys can probably speak more, and Ribeye speak more on the subscriber perks if you guys find value in it or not. So it's not just me telling you. Ace, thanks for the follow. All right, let's get into this Dark Gyarados, which right off the bat, I'm always so impressed on how well Japanese vintage cards just stay in such good condition, because it's like what we saw with the Kabutops in this, like the hollow itself, immediately I'm drawn to how good and clean the hollow is on this Gyarados. Let's actually, one thing I don't know is I want to check the centering from the right to the left. I'm kind of on the fence about it. So this is a very loose way of measuring centering on the internet. I know there's some apps and whatever, but for stream, I'm just going to kind of show you if you have this more in person. If you're really trying to look for like black labels or like anything like that through another grading company, you're going to have to do this. I would recommend doing this with a ruler anyway, so you can really be precise. But this is just as an example. So we're measuring centering from the left to the right. So you can see here on this right side, we start off on the right edge, and we're going to mark our way over. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 marks on the right side. And on the left, again, it's all going to be about perspective, so it might be a little bit off. So we have 1, 2, 3.5. So if we do so 4 divided by 7.5, we have 53. So I would say it's within the 55-45 range on the front side. So from the front, we're looking pretty good. The center on the top might be a little bit thicker than the bottom, but you guys kind of get the idea. Corners look great. The surface, again, that was my first kind of observation. The surface looks really good. There's no major hollow scratches. There's nothing that I can see. So far, so good on the front. The back, same thing. And again, for vintage Japanese, so I kind of talked about more like getting out of this version of the backing of the Japanese cards. So the centering on Japanese on the backs are actually really easy. You just take the marking on the red and go to the left, the marking on the red go to the right, and that's basically your centering. It's really straightforward, really easy, and it looks really well centered from what I can tell. So the only thing that I can really see is I'm not too sure what this is on the Pokeball. So you have a little bit of some, I don't know if that's a little bit of residue or something along the button of the Pokeball, but that might dock you some points from the surface. So I don't know if you can wipe that off or get that treated in any way, but that would be my recommendation. Art and Gabby, thank you for the follows. Appreciate that. So that will have an impact there. But aside from that, the corners look good. Maybe a little bit of whitening on that right side, but not nearly as, like, not like 9 worthy. Nothing on the Pokeball. I cleaned that. Okay, so this, from what Mike said, this is Mike's submission. He's stating that this is now gone, so we can kind of remove that from our overall assessment, which is good. Corners look good. Surface looks good. To be quite honest with you, I would say the only thing that I would check, because it said that you had the left and right is even with my tool in person, top, bottom, dead on. So I would say if you're measuring the front and the back and you're thinking it's within the range, I think from a PSA perspective, I don't see any scratches. I don't see any print lines or anything like that. That'd really be my only next concern, judging that we only have the one picture. And I would say that this, even though there is, like what I can tell, a present of very, very mild whitening, I still think it's within the parameter of getting you the 10. Because it's less than like what you would call like the standard whitening on a corner from like a Pack Fresh card that would get you like a 9. So I would probably say that this unless there's something else that we can't see from the surface from these 2 pictures alone, I would say that this would be a good 10 contender, in my opinion. Can you quickly explain what you mean by treating? Yes, Ace. So what I kind of talk about, that's, I would say, more unique is anytime I talk about treating cards, like cleaning or anything like that, I never use anything that I'm adding, that I'm using to add to the card. Like I don't use wax, I don't use filler, I don't use pens or anything like that. All I use is techniques that treat things that are already added to the card to try to remove them. So like dirt or grime or fingerprints or stuff like that. That's kind of what I talk about when treating a card. So for example, like what Mike was saying, since he was able to remove this tells me that this was probably just something stuck on there. I don't know. It could be like, let's say for example, it was dust, right? So taking like a microfiber cloth, for example, just simply wiping it off, it probably just lifted off, right? So had he left that on, that would have an impact on his surface grade, right? Because they'd have to take that into account. But since he was able to remove that with a microfiber cloth or something like a Q-tip and some distilled water or anything like that to help remove what was already present on the card, that's what I talk about when I'm talking about treating cards. But that's a good question because people have an instinct of like, oh, you're treating cards, you're using something to add onto the card to hide things or obscure things or whatever. So that's a good question. I just spent 200 on a 2000 base set 2 pack. Is it worth keeping sealed or no? So I guess, so I would say first, I don't know how much they go for, but second, I would, depending on the conditions in which you picked up the pack, I would say that if you don't know if it was weight or not, assume that it's light unless you have a scale. So I would say assume the pack is light, meaning that there's no hollow in it. If you purchased the pack that was saying like it was unweighed, unless it's from a reputable source that you can confirm that they do not weigh their packs, assume that it is light. And so if it is, then look up light prices and then go from there. However, if it's truly unweighed and you truly believe that it's unweighed and it looks untampered, obviously, if it were me, if you are buying loose packs, especially for vintage, I personally would, like, for what I do for my business, because there's 2 ways you can do it. You can either state yourself as someone who sells truly unweighed packs versus someone who sells a full transparency. This pack weighs X or this pack weighs Y or whatever. I chose the latter because if I'm buying loose packs off the internet, chances are someone's weighing them ahead of me. So I just want to know what it is just for transparency's sake. So but everyone does it a little bit differently. It's both practices are seen as accepted in the hobby. You know, some people have, differing opinions on both, and I understand both. I understand that weighing packs, you're kind of removing yet another layer of kind of the essence of opening a pack. But if you're buying raw stuff and buying single booster packs, unless you genuinely believe and see a reputation of that person selling truly unweighed packs, then you have to always stay down that path, because the moment you weigh a pack, that credibility that you built is no longer exists. So you would basically just have to be transparent with your packs being weighed. So yeah, anytime, Ricotta. Yeah, and Celadon, honestly, I hear you. I genuinely agree that, you know, but that's just the nature of buying single loose packs in the wild. Like, unless you physically see it open up in a box break, and I've made a video about it before, like the moment a live stream ends, like if you're buying out of a box break and the moment that stream turns off, in my professional opinion, you should not, like, the likelihood of anything happening with those packs goes up the moment that stream turns off, and you lose sight of what's happening with that pack or with that break. Again, obviously people's reputation is everything, and if they're really good and they don't do anything different, they don't mess with the packs or whatever, that's great. That's a person that you should really give business to legitimately. But you know, you never know. You truly do not know. So, but yeah, I agree. If I had it my way, Celadon, I would be like, you know, I wish no one could scan packs. Like, I wish no one even opened up that Pandora's box, because the essence of what makes opening up packs is now lost because you're weighing the vintage stuff. But with people scamming left and right or whatever, and like saying, hey, like, here's an unweighed pack, you know, I'm selling it as unweighed, and it's a person with like 2 sales. It's like, I bet that's weighed. You know what I mean? So you're already kind of on edge or like on guard. But I get it. I genuinely agree with both sides. I've said it before. I never am a person of like ultimatums, like choosing one way or the other is the best way, and the other way is like should never be done. So I definitely get it. All right, that's my yap session. Hopefully that answered your question, Ricotta. Now we're gonna look at this Dark Ivysaur. Hopefully you guys don't mind those. I think they're important topics, you know, and I like to give like my full honest opinion on stuff, and I really want to make sure that I'm as clear in my response as possible. Discord didn't give me directions on how to submit other than go to YouTube. So if you go to the pinned messages, Gabby, so the pinned messages, there should be, when you go to the Great Review channel, if you select the pinned messages, there should be instructions there. Okay, so Dark Ivysaur. So going back, what I was talking about with the Snorlax for the e-reader, so looking again at this top right corner, I would say this is pretty 50-50. So the top compared to the right, I think it's pretty well centered. If we're going to take again, like from the corner and kind of slice down through a 45-degree angle, it looks pretty well centered. However, the only thing that I will note, and you guys can probably see it, and hopefully you can, is these little black dots. I'm going to try to move it over. So right above where the K and the M in Pokemon there are 2 little black dots, what appears to be. Those might just be like dust particles or something like that. In which case, this is a good example of what I was talking about before with like treating the card. This is a good, just simply use a microfiber cloth or something like that. If those are dust particles or something, just wipe those off. You don't want to give PSA any wiggle room to knock you down a few points from the surface. If those are stuck on there, that's an easy fix. But aside from that, the surface looks good. The top left corner looks good. This left edge looks fine. Let's see. That bottom looks good. Let me zoom out just a little bit so you guys can see what I'm looking at. So the bottom edge looking good. Bottom right corner looking good. Yeah, the right side looks good. I was worried kind of in this section. I don't know if that was like a dent, but I think it's just like how the cardstock is illuminating in the light here. So I'm not too worried about that, to be honest. So yeah, front looks good. The back, let's see. So a little bit of whitening on the top right corner. So a little bit there, but not too bad. As well as what appears to be in that top center. Tad bit on that top left corner. That's just a hair. So it looks like there is some whitening on all four corners of the card. So if I zoom out just a tad. Top center, there's a small whitening I didn't notice until I saw the photo on your screen on the front. Are you talking about these right here? In this section? So that'd be this right here. Yep. You can kind of see a little bit. Maybe I'll like translate or transfer on the back, which I was kind of like highlighting here. So right underneath my mouse there and right underneath my mouse there. But yeah, pretty much all the four corners have some degree more on the bottom than the top. So if I take, so this bottom left corner, this bottom right corner is pretty like this top right, a little bit on the top left, bottom left, and bottom right has some degree of whitening. So I would say, you know, since the front looks, you know, I would say the surface on the front and the back look really good. I don't think it would get the 10 because of the whitening. I don't think it would get the 7 because 7s are definitely worse. So I'd probably say with this specifically, just for like having from what I can perceive as 5 points of whitening that we kind of highlighted. So here, a little bit there, bottom left and bottom right. I'd probably say that you're leaning more towards an 8 as a final grade would be my guess. But the surface is really clean. But again, it's really just the accumulation of those whitened corners is really kind of what's distancing you from that 9, in my opinion. But I think an 8 would be a pretty strong grade. You guys know my opinion on it. Like, I think for vintage, if you're going to grade stuff, I really think like, you know, 8 or higher. I'm always a fan. But yes. Yep, all my assessments are through under the assumption that they would be going through PSA. All right, next up, we got the Japanese Rockets Moltres with a nice little swirl by the foot there. I'm always a fan of swirls. So the centering on this one looks really good from what I can tell. Top, bottom, left, right, looks great. Now let's take a quick zoom in here and just check out the corners real quick. A little bit of shine on that top right corner. We'll have to kind of keep an eye on that when we flip it over, but that might just be the lighting, so I'm not too worried about that. Top right corner looks good. Top left corner looks good. Now we're looking kind of this left edge, looks fine. Nothing notable there. Bottom left corner good. Bottom right corner good. Text surface, there's no scratches. That's showing any of the hollow underneath. Rocket looking smug as always. Top right clean in person. Okay, perfect. Again, very similar to the Gyarados. There is really nothing I can see in terms of surface scratches on the hollow. Again, for whatever reason, Japanese is like more resilient to scratches or something, because all these cards are always just super clean. Like the Kabutops is super clean too. Nice little swirl there by the foot. So let's flip it over, and this is where we're probably going to notice a little bit of a decrease in grade here. So the top right looks a little bit of whitening on that right side, and as we go across we have, and I'll kind of highlight these as I go. So we have a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit in this section, there and there. A little bit on the bottom left. And we have, and I'll have to take a zoom in a little bit. We do have a little bit of some surface issues here and here within that box. Let's see. Same here within this range. Have a little bit here as well. Right edge is just light, okay. So that's just light. But aside from that, that's really all I'm kind of seeing, and maybe some edge wear here. So let me save that real quick and just zoom in on those sections. So we had a little bit of whitening or a little bit of surface issues right there on that, above that copyright symbol. We have what appears to be some surface abrasions on that left edge. Again, some more of that whitening on the top middle and that top right corner. And then here's those scratches I was talking about next to the S and monsters here. But aside from that, it's really just the whitening and those surface issues, because the front, to me, looks really good shape. So it looks like we have enough for a chat grade. So for the final one for Mike's submission, if we want to do a chat grade, I'll open that up real quick. So if you guys want to vote on what you think this Rockets Moltres would get as a PSA grade, type in !grade followed by the number. Again, that's !grade followed by the number if you want to vote on what you think this Rockets Moltres would get as a PSA grade. So how this works, if this is your first time here, is once the chat is done voting, the winning vote will be the chat grade. And so once chat is done, then I will give my assessment, and then that's kind of how we have both chat and myself give you guys a grade. So we normally have this open once it goes above 20 to 25 concurrent viewers, both on YouTube and TikTok. What goes on here? You check your chat's cards for grading purposes? Yeah, pretty much. Just try to, it's completely free. Try to just educate as much as I can on what to look for. Because a lot of people are quick to just say, hey, if it's pack fresh PSA 10 all day, and then when they get 9s or 8s, they get disappointed and they don't know why. I'm not saying everyone does that, but that's just an example that I see very commonly across kind of the social media space. It's really popular to talk about PSA 10s and their very high prices. So this is just my way. I've been grading since 2017, and just kind of keeping track of things I look for. And, you know, if I think a card is going to get a 7 and it comes back as a 7, I kind of make sure, hey, I'm getting better at assessing 7s. Or if I think it's going to get an 8, it comes back as a 6, then it's like, okay, I'm getting worse, or I need to improve on what I think an actual 8 is. And I've just been doing that since 2017. So I'll keep the vote open for another 30 seconds. Again, if you want to vote on what you think this Moltres would get. So there's the back as well. Really more of the issues are on the back. Type in !grade followed by the number if you want to vote on what you think this Rockets Moltres would get. So I'll keep it open for another 30 seconds or so. Min, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. And for those of you who are watching me tonight, I definitely appreciate all the likes, shares, and follows. It really does mean a lot. Helps me know that you guys like me yapping at you and giving you my insight on what to look for. So I definitely appreciate it. Not Joey, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that very much. All right, so let us close the poll here. So you guys, as a collective hive mind, you guys by 2 votes, you guys are leaning towards the 7. And get rid of the old stuff. So chat, you guys are thinking a PSA 7. So chat is 7. All right, so now it is my turn to review the big flaming bird. So let us take a look. So first, the centering. The centering is in very good shape. I'm nothing really worried about that. Corners are great. We had Mike confirm that there wasn't any issues in that top right, because there's a little bit shimmer there that I was concerned with, but he was able to let us know that that is nothing to be worried about. And in classic fashion with classic Japanese vintage cards, the surface of this is in really good shape. There's no print lines. There's nothing that I can see from the hollow pattern, so that's great. It's really when we flip it over is where we start to see a little bit of issues. So, but nothing crazy. So the top right corner is a little bit of whitening here in this section. And as we kind of go across the top, we see a little bit of whitening on the top there. And top left corner is great. There is a little bit of surface abrasion here. It's kind of tough to see, but it's kind of around where my mouse is. So we have a little bit of whitening on that bottom left side. And a little bit of surface issues by the S and monsters there. as well as some above the C and copyright down in that section. Additionally, and I think it's worth noting in this time, I didn't note it during the initial review, is that there is a little bit of a bend here just across the card, but that's something that can be quickly alleviated. In most cases, this won't decrease your grade, but it's always more of just kind of, it's better to be safe than sorry. And so what I traditionally do is I just put something like this in a penny sleeve. This is kind of the easier, cheaper option. Put it in a penny sleeve and then just put it in the center of a heavy book, and kind of make sure that it's well centered within the book. Put some heavy weights on it, keep it about a day or two, check in on it every now and again, and it'll naturally kind of flatten out. So just kind of keep that in mind if you want to try to, you know, not give them anything to dock you any points, even though they shouldn't. You never know. So I'd say with this, again, it kind of goes back to what I would assess this as a raw card. So I don't think it's a 10. I don't think it's a 9 because of the whitening. So we're in my range, we're kind of already like starting at like the 8 is the highest. So my floor, I wouldn't say this as a light play. So there's not enough damage for me to warrant calling this a light play card. So my range is kind of within like the 7, which is near mint, to 8, which is near mint plus. So I would probably say that because of the whitening and because of the surface issues that we're seeing on the back more so than the front, because the front, the surface is flawless in terms of the hollow. There's really nothing wrong with the front. It's really just the back. So I would probably lean more towards the 7 because of the surface abrasions on the bottom near the S and kind of the whitening on the edges as well as the corners. I'd probably lean more towards that 7 than the 8. So I am in agreement with you guys that I also would think that this card would get a 7 as well. So chat, you guys are thinking 7, and I am thinking 7 as well because I can't think for myself, and you guys are better than me. So good job, chat. All right. So that was Mike's submission. So Mike, thank you for both subscribing to the Discord as well as your submissions. Hopefully you got something good out of that as much as we did. And again, if you guys want to submit your cards for a future grade review as I'm setting up for the next one, all you have to do is click the link tree, which is in my bio or description if you're watching me on YouTube. Next, you just go to the link tree and just click the Discord icon towards the right side. Next, you will see the grade review channel. And then you can submit as many cards as you want in the grade review channel, both front and back. Just make sure to review the pinned messages in that channel to know how to properly submit your cards. For example, I can't really assess a card in a sleeve or a top loader because if the scratch is present, I don't know if it's on the sleeve, top loader, or whatever. So just make sure that you follow those and everything is good there. And so with that, once they've submitted, everything is good. But it is first come, first serve because it is a free service. However, if you want priority grade review, like what Mike took advantage of and others, the Discord server does offer a subscription starting at $4.99 a month. So in addition to priority grade review, you also get some other cool perks, like monthly submissions to subscriber exclusive giveaways and some other good stuff. So that's how you do it. Let's see. You guys still there? Let's see. Can you guys still hear me? Something happened with my internet again. Can anyone hear me? Anyone at all?